Is Arches National Park worth visiting anymore? Is it too crowded? That's the question we're going to address in this video here. We're Matt and Cheryl with We're in the Rockies, and on our channel we try to help you have a great trip to the West. Arches has really been going through growing pains. I know the whole National Park Service has as well, but Arches is a small park, about 2 million visitors a year, and so they're all kind of cramming into this small area. It's similar to Zion in that that's a small park and it gets a lot of visitors as well, but Zion has a shuttle and Arches doesn't. Zion's just more able to accommodate that. So Arches has been a little bit of a tricky place to visit with really long lines at the gates and
tiny parking lots.
Yeah, and small parking lots. I mean, this was pretty much constructed, most of this back in the 60s. So we're gonna address that question here in this video, but let's just first talk about how it got so crowded.
We all love social media. It's given us inspiration to travel and a lot of times like good tips how to do it. And so I think that's the first one. Arches is such a photography national park that we all know what it looks like. We've seen images and it's beautiful. Heck, Utah's license plate has the delicate arch on it. I mean, we can't go a day without seeing the delicate arch. Next is the baby boomers. We love our baby boomers. Our parents are baby boomers. And you know what our parents do? They're retired, they've got some extra money, they're in good health, and they travel around. I mean, it's really quite a wonderful thing that they're able to do this. But I've noticed that with all the baby boomers traveling, it's not just like the summers are busy in these national parks. The boomers know, they're like, I'm gonna go visit in May, or I'm gonna go visit in October. So they extend the travel season, but of course they still go in the summer because they wanna travel with their families too. Next is Arches has tremendous marketing. I mean, the name Arches just makes you wanna go there. And to boot, we now have the Utah Mighty Five.
The Mighty Five are the 5 national parks in Utah, and the state of Utah has done a marketing campaign to visit the Mighty 5 parks, which you can do in a road trip, which we are on right now.
Yeah, this is our last day of our 8-day road trip through the Utah Mighty 5, yeah. And it's a great road trip, by the way. All right, now we're locals. We live 4 hours from here, so we are Utahns born and raised. And Arches used to be a park that we could just get up and on the spur of the moment head down to. We could even find a camping spot without getting a reservation, and then we would just drive around and go see things, and it was really a low-stress trip. That's really not possible anymore. The world knows about Arches and is coming here. But we don't think that's completely a bad thing, and here's why.
If people have the money to travel and the health to go get outdoors, then I think that's a good thing. And we have a lot more opportunities to learn about these things. We just have better information today. It's amazing, it's great. And when we go to other places, we want that information and we want to know how to go do it. And today you can get that information online from locals like us. And again, if you have the money and you have the health and you have the desire to get outdoors and to go to some of these places, I think it's a great thing. That is what our national parks are for. They're for everybody to visit. And even though it kind of feels like the world's kind of come to our backyard here, we're okay with that.
Well, I think the other thing is that we love these national parks and people fight for and care about things that they know and love. The rise in visitorship in the national parks has really caused a lot of awareness, and people love the parks. They're special to them, but you don't have that connection and that love for them unless you are out there visiting them. And so I think that just has inspired us all to make more of an effort to protect our parks.
Yeah, in fact, we are in Green River, Utah right now. This is the backdrop here. Green River's about 45 minutes outside of Moab. There's a little museum here called the John Wesley Powell Museum. Great museum to visit, by the way. But in there's a quote from somebody who is in the River Runners Hall of Fame. He's a river rafting Hall of Famer. And he said, "We love the places we visit, and we take care of the places that we love." And I think that's a good quote for our national parks.
The last thing we think is just that we love that people are getting outdoors. On this trip, we've taken my parents with us, and me and my dad had our spikes on. It's been really cold on this trip, and there was actually still some ice in Bryce. And as we were hiking, my dad just said, "I feel so alive. This park makes me feel alive." And I think that's how people feel. And so I love, we spend so much time indoors, we spend so much time sitting, and you come to a national park and it just rejuvenates you. And I think that it's really kind of selfish for us locals to be like, well, this park's only for us. We think it is for everybody. The parks have a twofold mission. One is to preserve the area, and the other is for the enjoyment of the people. And I feel like Arches is really meeting a good balance between the preservation and making it accessible for people.
Okay, so the question is it still worth it to visit Arches even if it's going to be really crowded? Well, the good news is they have now implemented a reservation system. This isn't meant to exclude people from visiting the park, but it's really more meant to spread out the visitorship, because so many people would just hammer the park first thing in the morning or between 9 and 12. Those were typically the busiest times of the day. So now what they're trying to do is spread that out throughout the day. So reservation system goes from like 6 to 4 p.m. This can change occasionally, so always check their website. But they're trying to spread it out. And I think that it's working well. They have also worked with the local community on this process. And so I think that's a good thing. They've gotten a lot of input from the businesses and stuff like that. And we used the reservation system and it worked great. Now, obviously the complaint for a lot of people is if you don't have a reservation, then you're out of luck, right? People are like, I already planned my trip and now I couldn't get a reservation. This is really difficult. The good news is you can enter the park after 4 o'clock. And we did that and hiked to Delicate Arch on this trip, and it worked out great. The crowds really do kind of die off after 4, and so you can still get a lot done on your trip. And the other thing is, it gives you a chance to go explore some of the great things nearby. So I know that the national parks are like the tip top. Everybody wants to go to the national parks, and everybody talks about like there's 63 national parks. A lot of people, they have a mission to go visit all 63 national parks, something like that. I've never thought about it that way at all. There's over 400 national park sites. And so my mom and I, we've always kept a list of the 400. You know, how many of those are we checking off? And so there's plenty of other places nearby. I mean, there's Canyonlands National Park, there's Mesa Verde National Park, there's Hoven-Weep National Monument, there's Monument Valley, there's Colorado National Monument a couple hours away in Grand Junction. I mean, there's a lot to do around the area. And then there's plenty of stuff that's not even protected as a national park or monument. So a lot of fun to be had. And I think if the reservation system, you know, allows you to visit it for a certain period of time, but then forces you to get outside and see some of the other cool things, I don't think that's that bad either.
Yeah, and I was also just going to mention that, you know, we had a reservation yesterday and it made our trip into the park so delightful. Like, if you are able to get a timed entry ticket, it's great because you aren't in a traffic jam. You can find a parking spot. Like, it makes for a great visitor experience. And we actually visited after 4 one day too, and that was great. And even one of our friends, this is spring break. This is the craziest time of year. Usually on these ticketed entry systems, they'll have a window open months before, and then they'll have a window open like the day before. And she was able to get a ticket doing that. And so, of course, it's best to get your ticket in that first window because then it allows you to plan. But personal experience, one of our friends just barely got one the day before. And so that I think the national parks are doing a good job trying to help the planners and the last minute planners still be able to access the park. I guess my only tip on that is, as we've gotten ticketed reservations for Glacier or Rocky Mountain National Park or Arches, is that if you know you're going to go visit that park, get on the website as soon as possible and find out when those windows open, because these are hot tickets. Like, when the window opens, people are on and they're scooping them up. And so you don't want to procrastinate. You want to know when that window opens for you and go on and get that ticket so that you have a reservation and you're ready to go.
So yes, it's a little more difficult than it used to be, but it's still great. I mean, Arches has a beautiful, delightful drive that you can go through the park and see so much just from your car. Nice short walks, really fun formation.
And even though we have to do extra planning and preparation to come to this park, we still feel that it's worth it. The reservation system has made it a great experience, and Arches just, there's not another place in the world like it. We think all the time about some of the places we've gone that have been super crowded. We were in Rome this year and we went to the Vatican and it was crowded and it was nuts, but we're never going to see those things again. There's nowhere else in the world that has those things, and that's how Arches is. You just cannot replicate it. And even though there are a lot of people around, it's kind of like going to a movie premiere. There's a lot of energy in the air. People are excited, and it's great to share that experience with people the first time they see Delicate Arch and the excitement and happiness they feel. I mean, it's wonderful. We had to wait for a minute to take our picture in front of Delicate Arch, but that was okay. It was fun to talk to the other visitors and just hear about people's travels, see the excitement. It's just such a wonderful place. And for this reason, we have written in a 3 to 5 day itinerary for Arches, Moab, and Canyonlands, this whole area. We just think it's such an amazing place to go, but it can be a little bit tricky because of those crowds. But our itinerary has all sorts of plans, like plans to help you see Arches in a really efficient way and the best sites, but also keeping in mind the things outside of Arches, because with the ticketed entry system, you may not have a ticket to Arches every day, but it's going to have how to go see the Canyonlands really well, and some of the adventures at Moab, and other things in the surrounding area. It's going to have when to start your day, how long things take to do, and maps to keep you from getting lost and on track. And one of my favorite things is just how far it is between each of the stops. And our days are kind of chunked into mornings, afternoon, evenings, so that you know how long things will take. And it really does take a lot of the homework and preparation out of preparing our trip. We are just finishing up our Mighty 5 trip. This was hours and hours and hours of planning and writing and guides. And we actually have guides to all the national parks in the Mighty 5. But I cannot believe what a stress-free trip this was during the most crowded time of the year, and we saw so many things. And so don't hesitate to look up that itinerary if you think it's going to be helpful for you. It's on we'reintherockies.com.
Thank you for watching, and until next time, go west, young traveler.